It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 70 of the Redirect Podcast. It's Wednesday, July 10th, 2019. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. Welcome this week by Patrick and Lauren from the Black Truck team. Howdy, gang.
Hey, guys.
Hey there.
What's new?
70 episodes. That's kind of a neat number.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
70.
That's a real deal.
That's better than our 50th celebration,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not traditionally celebrated 70.
No.
But, you know.
We've
changed both digits.
It's not a paper anniversary or
right.
anything. It's
right.
something much larger, I'm sure. I'd have to Google that to know.
Still, it's just a nice looking number.
Right.
It is. It's a clean number.
It makes it seem legit.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, episode 57, I mean, that's not as cool as 70.
No.
Right.
Episode 68,
Yeah, right.
Although episode 68 was good. I highly recommend going back and listening to that. But getting through the 4th of July, we've got some major industry events coming up, MozCon coming up, and a couple other things happening. So looking forward to those things, but really looking forward to jumping in over talking about some things that have happened over the last month and whatnot, and what you guys have to share. So, Pat, you said you were taking
Yeah,
lead
I'll jump in. So one of my favorite topics that I've discussed countless times on here is voice-related items, voice search, voice shopping, smart speakers.
Yeah.
I just stumbled on an article that was just published this morning that was very relevant, I felt, from Search Engine Land. It summarizes a few reports that have recently come out that I can share later. However, the gist of it is, the summary is 2019, there will be more than 100 million smart speakers in U.S. homes. 31 million Americans will, air quote, shop on their smart speakers. That's predicted to grow to 38 million in the next 2 years.
Wow.
Though only 21 million Americans will actually purchase. There is a distinct difference between shopping and purchasing.
Okay.
The same way you go to a store, you go shopping and you don't always buy something.
That's right.
In a physical store. Of these 21 million purchases, essentially the entirety will be digital goods, such as movies and music.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The transaction side isn't necessarily tangible.
Right. They said to get further into it, a category that is poised for growth in this 21 million is going to be the reorder category specifically.
We've and that's the one area, if anything, that we said, if voice search, you take that category alone, leading to commerce. If anything, what is going to drive commerce and voice search? It's staple goods and reorders.
Yeah,
need more toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly. The example I wrote in my notes here is you're in the kitchen and the paper towel that you already have in your purchase history just ran out, and now with your wet hands, you tell your speaker to reorder those paper towels. An area that's going to be taking a lot of attention from that reorder category that's technically considered reorder is takeout food. You already you'll have that in your history as well as if that Chinese food that you have ordered once, you can tell it to reorder that same thing. It's here in the office, we give a little bit too much attention to Jimmy John's, and through their web portal, you can just reorder the same thing. Think about your voice, your smart speaker doing the same thing, just reordering the same takeout food. So those two areas are what's going to get pushed the most to help grow that 21 million. The big trouble that data is having right now with the whole purchase, shopping, use, adoption rates is that there is no data. Right now, the article made it very clear that right now there's no analytics and there's no significant behavioral data. All you have is surveys. Currently, there are so many different voice-related surveys out there that whatever your theory or point you're trying to make is, you can find a survey to support that.
Yeah.
And as we know, on the political side of things, on the anything in the survey world, it all depends on who you're surveying. If you survey 12 people that have made their purchase in the last month, then your survey is going to be skewed.
I would agree.
And there's no standardization to that. An example they made was from voice. I'm sorry, scrolling. VoiceBot.ai found that in 2018, 12% of smart speaker owners used voice shopping monthly. However, in the middle of 2018, that number was 16%. So in the second half of 2018, it lost 4%. So it's interesting, and that doesn't necessarily mean that adoption rates are declining or users are not doing them. It just means that there's no hard and fast data.
Well, it's the same thing that supports, the Internet Trends report for, the 2018-2019 stats of, adoption rates, if you will, or purchases of smartphones. Well, how many phones purchased anymore are not smartphones? So you kind of, to your point, some of this data you do have to kind of don't take it for face value.
Right.
If it's something that you're remotely interested in or going, that could impact my business. A, don't freak out about it.
Right.
B, dig into the data and really try and figure out what it
Reading
means.
data is a weak spot for so many business owners, I feel.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, reading it and interpreting it. This article made it a point to mention that this is based on strictly smart speakers, not voice assistants that are built into your smart device, your smart home, your smart phone. And my favorite part of this whole article is in conclusion, it said that it turns out it's just not going to be that big of a deal, which is what I always said from day one, and that for the time being, marketers should pursue local and mobile SEO best practices. And that just kind of made me feel good, because that's what I said, I think, in December of 2017.
Yeah. Yeah, you went back and looked, didn't you?
No, I know I didn't look. I just remember because you guys all gave me the stink eye when I first said that. And it's just kind of it's one of those rare instances where, like, I was right.
Yeah. I think it is. It'll be. I mean, it's just another tool. It's just another tool that and consumers, as consumers become more comfortable with it, they're going to be more inclined to use it. I think that there will still be. I think we're still a long way off from people saying, okay, Google, find me a little black dress, size this. Here's my price range. I don't think that there still has to be some interaction there. If anything, what I'm anxious to see the growth of is the image-based search driven by AI. Things like Google Lens being more and more integrated into the Android platform, and what that means. It's that alone, if you haven't played with the Google Lens side of it, is very impressive with what that is able to pull in. I was playing around with it recently. My wife actually just got the newest Google Pixel this weekend, and playing around with some of the latest features in there, and the recognition that it can make, literally standing in the store, taking a photo or turning it into lens mode and taking a photo of the different types of phones, and it knowing that that's a Pixel 3, Pixel 3 XL, or Pixel 3a. Strictly by distinction. If you looked at those phones to us as individuals,
Right.
It looks like a Pixel.
Right.
Right.
Does that work on other platforms? Meaning if that was looking at like your knockoff Androids or
yeah, absolutely. Like you could go over to a Samsung phone and do the same thing, and it knows that it's the S8 or S10, whatever it is now. But the same thing for the best one is take a photo of a dog, and it knows the breed of the dog.
That's weird.
As an American Cocker Spaniel or an American Spaniel.
Humans will still never get that right.
No.
What kind of dog is that? It's a yellow lab. It looks like every other yellow lab.
Yeah. So, but that goes to also show this plays into this. I don't think it plays into. It's not voice search. I think we get away from this whole concept of it's not keyword search. It's not, it's entity-based search.
Right.
Now we go even deeper into, is it really voice search, or is it more? We're in this world of assisted searches.
Yeah.
By any means, there was a great Twitter thread going on the other day from a few individuals. Some folks from Distilled and stuff were going back and forth on what kind of like when do you use voice search? And a lot of it is if I'm just looking for answers, quick answers, I have no problem saying, okay, Google, what's the, square root of 50?
Yeah, definable results.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
it's an argument I make on a lot of these things. The biggest obstacle for voice search is, for example, on the Google Ads side, how frequently do we see the third ad perform better than the first ad?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in voice search, you're getting back either the featured snippet or the very first result. And how often is the very first result the actual one you want to click on?
Right. And we also know that the featured snippet doesn't have to be the first result on Google.
Right.
It can be the fifth result
Yeah.
or the fourth result. It's just providing the best answer to the user.
That's why Amazon started selling a smart speaker that came with a display screen. And I flipped my lid when I saw that because that's called a computer.
Yeah. Oh, it's a tablet with a stand and a speaker integrated into it.
I'm not going to get into it.
Going back to what you were saying about the reorders and kind of where some of those voice search purchases occur. The questions that I have, if I'm a small business owner, a restaurant owner, how do I get on the platform that's allowing for that to happen?
Right.
What do I need to do to set up, my menu, my account, whatever it might be, so then that way they can say, all right, order my favorite Indian meal from XYZ restaurant.
Yeah. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it. Like I always say.
Yeah, the data is so goofy in it. One of the examples they made in here is that Uber. They brought in Uber, which we all know how Uber works. You have an app on your phone and you call. You select a car, you make a request, whatever. They said that through a certain period of time, 0.002% of the more than 15 million total Uber rides per day were used through an Alexa device. And then I had to ask myself, who in the world is getting an Uber through their smart speaker? Because that's just not the way it's designed to function. So they're using that as a basis of success or failure, but that's not what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
I just don't, granted, I'm not a power user on Uber. I'm not barely a user of Uber, but I just don't know how that would work on a smart speaker on that. Again, there's no data to hard prove anything. It's all just common conversation.
I can see it where when I was using Uber fairly heavily and, doing rides, even scheduling rides to work, from my house. So then I would say, Alexa, schedule an Uber for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then because that's, the pickup point that's really consistent. Yeah, maybe. But then also there are some things where it's just easier to use the interface, rather than trying to confirm that it's correct with the voice search.
To some degree, much like shopping, you kind of want to see what you're getting too, right?
Exactly.
You want to know what you're getting into. It's the same thing if you ask it for restaurant recommendations. You're going to get a list of recommendations, but you're still going to want to read the reviews because that plays heavily into a consumer's mindset on what you want to buy, where you want to eat, etc. Until the voice interaction starts to give us that kind of feedback and that kind of information, it's not going to be there. I'm anxious to see what people are talking about at MozCon this year and see if anything comes out of it. Because up to this point, there hasn't been much. This would be one of the first ones, Pat. I caught that this morning in a news feed too. That has been remotely interesting. So yeah, cool,
good stuff.
What you got,
so
Lauren?
To switch gears a little bit, I wanted to talk about Facebook.
Hey,
specifically Facebook Business Manager, Facebook ad accounts. So we have been taking on some clients that have done a lot of consulting in terms of how to set up these assets. And so that's been something that you think maybe just because we're in the platform all the time and we take a lot of things for granted in that way.
Yeah.
Whereas with our clients, they only do it once. They don't manage multiple companies. They don't manage multiple brands, different
They're just
ad accounts.
managing their own brand or something like that.
Correct. And typically, or at least in our experience, a larger firm, they'll say, okay, we want to we want to invest more in digital advertising. We understand that Facebook has a great advertising platform. Let's jump into that category. So then what'll happen is either they'll work with a partner agency to do that, or they'll have someone internally kind of set that up. And really what happens is we're seeing a lot of clients that aren't actually owning their own data. And what I mean by that is they create the asset which collects the data, which is known as the Facebook pixel, right? You guys are familiar. But the Facebook pixel is associated with an ad account which the client doesn't own. And you think to yourself, okay, that's fair. Let's just transfer ownership. You cannot do that. So that is something that Facebook has just not quite figured out yet. I haven't seen any indication that they're going to change that. But essentially what happens, and we've had this happen with a few clients, is that they don't own their data, and the only way to remedy the situation is to build their own dedicated ad account within their business manager, reinstall a blank pixel, and start all over again.
Wow.
So that can be, detrimental to some companies that have been investing thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to essentially collect this user data.
Because that user, so is it, can you clarify a little bit? You're not talking about like audience data and things like that you see in insights. You're talking strictly how they they interacted with the ads. You're going to be able to see that if you inherit. Can you inherit the ad account and see that data, or is the pixel strictly looking at the site-side data, right? Like there's some clarifications there.
Yeah, so that's a great question. To clarify, you can see if it's insights on your page, right? So let's say it's your Instagram page or your Facebook page. You can still see, here are the number of comments, the engagement, that sort of thing. Specifically, what I'm talking about would be on the site side where the pixel is installed, or it could be your app, right? So that is where you have user interaction data that then can be used for retargeting, can be used for creating lookalike audiences.
Got it.
And then you can also pull that information into, like an insights or an analytics and see, okay, what are the attributes of the people that are on our website? Because Facebook has a different set of targeting criteria than Google Analytics, right? So Google Analytics will give you site actions. They'll do a pretty good job of telling you, okay, these are the top pages. These are events that are occurring. These are the buttons that they're clicking on. We know that they come from these regional areas, cities, that sort of thing. Facebook can tell you more psychographic type information. So Google, as you know, has the affinity, like the in-market categories. And Facebook is very similar to that, just a little bit more refined. But some of those things, they kind of, to reiterate a little bit, would be that if you want to set up, let's say, a new campaign, and maybe you've moved away from that vendor, now you're essentially starting from scratch. So all of the money that you spent on the previous campaign to try and figure out, okay, which audience is working, which audience isn't working, that pixel is associated with those ads, and so it's improving every single time you run a new campaign.
Right.
So it's getting better
Constantly
and better.
learning, because the machine learning aspect of it is critical.
Absolutely. So just kind of, I think we're going to be publishing an article soon that outlines exactly how to set up your business manager and to look for some things in terms of who owns it, how can I make sure that it's set up correctly, how can I install the Facebook pixel and check these things. So I wanted to maybe just kind of put that out there into the world and just start making people more aware and just I want people asking the question, do we have ours set up correctly?
Why would, so outside, if you took the brand peoples, if you will, out of the equation, and if we talk more about individuals who are hiring agencies and things like that to do work for them on behalf of the company, why would an agency of record do it that way? Is there any benefit outside of financial? Is there any benefit to doing that?
So is what you're asking, why would an agency create an ad account and then give the client access to that ad account?
Yeah, or not.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, exactly. No, it's a good question. So in my experience, I've seen it a few different ways. Some agencies feel that the management of the Facebook ad campaigns and how they do that is like their proprietary information, right? So
Sure, I can understand that.
right, in theory, if I hired a third-party agency to manage my Facebook ad campaigns, gave them access to the ad account that I own, and then fired them, I would be able to then go in, see how they set everything up, and potentially reverse engineer, a campaign for myself, and I wouldn't need them anymore. I don't want to, ruin anyone's hopes, but it's just much more complicated than that, necessarily.
Yeah. You're atypical in that sense. I would say everybody around the microphones are atypical in that sense of that's our job, and we would probably reverse engineer it given the opportunity to look at it, right?
True.
To be able to say, what was the path? What was the route?
Exactly.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the average marketing individual, not stepping on anybody's toes, that the average marketing individual would do that, right?
Exactly.
Because maybe they don't have the time to do it, right? That's a lot of times what it comes down to is time, knowledge, expertise to get in there and turn the dials.
Exactly.
It's not their forte.
Yeah, so that would be one particular reason that you would have an agency give the client access to their ad account. Another would be billing and financial incentives. And it essentially has to come down to, are you doing a percentage of spend markup? Are you just charging the client a flat fee and they don't need to know how much the ad spend is?
Yeah.
As you guys know, agencies operate in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But that's just one that I've seen.
We could do a whole podcast segment around agency
unscrupulous tactics.
Yeah, agency
Right.
fee markups, how it all works, what's kind of behind the scenes, how that all works, and not even have to talk about financials. It's just business and how people
Exactly.
do things. To your point, there's the option of the all-in gross media dollar, which tends to be a traditional way of thinking. Some clients, especially larger organizations and businesses, are used to that, where they say, I've got $100,000 budget, here it is,
Right.
handle it. All they're used to getting is that invoice or writing that check, cutting that check. The problem is, I think, with that model in the last few years is that they don't question where those dollars are being spent.
Exactly.
And we've seen it. It's been in industry news where there have been some pretty major players that have been caught kind of with their pants down of charging, in excess of 60% on that. Right? So not much of your $100,000 is actually going toward your media spend and promotions. It's going to the pockets of the agency. And it's not saying that an agency shouldn't get paid well to do their job if they're doing a good job. I 100% agree that they should. It's just saying, let's level the playing field here and be real honest about what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's behavior like that gives our industry a bad name,
For sure. And
agreed.
I think so. To kind of recap that, you wanna review how your account is structured and how Business Manager is structured. You want to make sure that, like anything, you own it.
Right.
And we have the same approach here, at least at Black Truck, with that as we do with, say, Google Ads. It's not our business to own your data. It's not our business to own your account. We're a manager of the account. We're doing the things that you either don't have the time or expertise to do, and are more of the partner in the brand. And I think that's how your agency should be, viewed. And yeah, I mean, the same thing could be said for Google Ads. Like, man, if it doesn't work out, you shake hands and you part ways. Isn't it better to do that than to be like, now you enter the next chapter of, oh, well, what the F, man? Like, what do you mean? None of this data is mine. You mean I can't take it? What? I don't understand.
Right.
To your point exactly, now who's viewed as the bad guy? The other agency is, because you're the one that's getting some blame placed on you. Mm-hmm. And then the new agency or the new person assuming that role has to navigate those waters. And that can be pretty tough, I think.
Yeah, no, it is, and it can end up just being a huge time suck for all parties involved. And depending on how things get built out,
yeah.
I mean,
take the agency out of the realm for a minute. Let's take the agency off the table, because that's not always the case, and we don't want to give some agencies a bad name.
Sure.
There's been a lot of situations where we get into it where maybe Pat is the ad account owner strictly by novice. Didn't know any different. Like, oh, I'm running these ads. Yep, this is great. What happens when Pat leaves that company?
Yeah, you're.
Oh, hell. There goes the ad account. You can't hand it over.
You know, you're exactly right. And I've encountered working with clients that their response is, well, we had an intern set that up.
Right.
So, I think that's maybe something that people don't understand. So then, they'll give that task to an ambitious, young individual, and they set it up the best they can. But, it's done incorrectly.
Yeah, totally.
I've seen that so many times on YouTube channels. Surprisingly, it seems
Yeah.
like always like it's all the various Google properties that are out there. It seems like I see it so frequently. It's like, okay, you guys have this YouTube channel. Who is this owner with you? It's like name at businessname.com. And they're like, oh, that person isn't with us anymore. They've been gone for 3 years.
Totally.
So how do we change ownership? Yeah. Okay. And then we move on to a new subject.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, you put time and energy into those platforms, and then they, quite frankly, they just go dead.
Yeah.
You have to rebuild and start all over again. So, yeah, just being a little bit more mindful, I think, and setting those things up and doing it right the first time, or if you have to redo it over, make sure it's done right.
Totally. That's a good recap, right? I mean, from the paid social and social advertising perspective, and really, I think digital media in general have a digital crash plan in place. Understand who has ownership of what.
Exactly.
For step one. Step two, what are you doing to move forward? And then trust in with the people that you're working with. And then to Pat kind of recap the voice shopping search side of things, or the voice shopping side of things. Going to be interesting to see what the holidays bring.
Yeah. I'll keep tabs on it.
And to see what the data sources say, but also know that it's more reorder staple goods.
Right.
Kind of maybe what we predicted even in 2017. Probably we talked about it when you made the bold statement of, it's not going to go anywhere. Proof now of saying, yeah, you want to reorder something, it's super easy. You know what to expect. You know what you're going to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for search? I still think that, natural language, right for humans.
Sound SEO skills, man.
Yep. Keep moving forward. That's your good on page. So fundamentals, technical SEO, not off-site link building, blah blah
Right.
blah. Now, obviously, pages need to rank and things like that, but set that aside. To your point, on the search side, writing for the human, good on page, talk about what it is that you do in detail. So, awesome, cool, really great stuff, guys. I appreciate you bringing that to the table and sharing it, and look forward to the next episode.
Excellent.
Sweet. Until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.